A warm welcome to you all who have taken your valuable time to join this webinar session. Myself Pradeep Mauluri, I am here senior faculty for data science practice. Okay. Today we have a webinar on the topic 360 degrees view of customer framework to portray the big picture through the big data. So it can be abbreviated as customer centric analytics, big data customer centric analytics. So coming to this topic, why it assumes importance is because most of the companies talk about the customer centric or customer focused, only few can back up their talk with the right tools and approaches. So today the topic gives a business framework for integrating all those, enhancing, managing and analyzing all the customer information, and allows for customized and phased implementations that delivered measurable business benefits. Okay, and also this topic assumes large importance in dynamic competition world where we are seeing currently struggle for even a single customer prevails, and where all the big data is coming into the picture. Okay, so we at Manipal Academy of Data Science proud to host this webinar session by Dr. Venu Gopal Jargumalli, who is a practice leader and group manager for data science and big data analytics at Cisco. He comes with 12 years of experience both over analytical development and deployment, and also consulting and project delivery. So his experience ranges in domains of something like manufacturing, high tech, cloud-based quality, customer service, warranty analytics, retail to pharma modeling. So he has a PhD from Isaac Institute for Social and Economic Change in International Business Strategy, and he completed his masters from Hyderabad Central University, and he also has earlier associated with several big organizations like ISB, Symphony, Satyam, which is Tech Mahindra, eValueServe and HP Global Analytics.
Hey, good afternoon, folks, and who are attending. So, thanks, Pradeep, for a nice introduction and then the introduction of the topic. So, what I'll do is I'll try to share what I'm having it and then keep it more interactively, post me questions on chat window, whatever you want, and then I'll try to answer it at the end. Okay. So as mentioned it, the topic is 360 review of a customer and then the framework to portray a big picture through big data. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to portray the big picture of the customer interactions and kind of problems they face through big data analytics. So the agenda of the topic is I will talk briefly about an industry called SaaS. Most of you know about what is a SaaS industry, and then I'll define a business problem in that what the SaaS industry is going through. As I said, all business problems may not be analytics problems. From this we have to define what is an analytics problem out of it, and then why we need a data analytics practice as to build over to analyze this business problem. Then the framework of entire 360 review, and then we have some more case studies about what we do in a proactive and break fix analytics, okay, in the preventive maintenance world. So with this, let me just take you to the world called SaaS. Okay, next. Okay, so everyone knows about software as a service is a model of a software delivery where software companies provide and maintenance and daily technical operations and support for the software provided to the client. If you see the kind of an image here, for example, you talk about a power system, instead of building your own power system, you can just plug and play whatever you want. So SaaS is simplest terms of that. So what happens here is in a SaaS industry, people, most of the companies tend to use this, and then the delivery becomes very easy. And most users of this is small, medium, and large business houses, and most of that is mostly in small and medium businesses than the large houses. Large houses can afford to have their own softwares, but SMBs tend to use this. Having said that, what happens here is the customer acquisition costs okay, is very key objective to the most of the SaaS business. Like no, when we want to acquire a new customer, it has to lower its cost. Like no, otherwise, what will happen is the customer acquisition cost will be very high. And most of the SaaS businesses become profitable when they have a committed monthly recurring revenues, which we call it as an MRRs. Okay, and then they also tend to increase the customer lifetime value. Like no, they want to have the customers more period than what is expected, and then they want to maximize the cash flows, because what happens here is like no, when you subscribe to the service and then you are not paying in a regular intervals, the cash flows will hit the delivery. Then more than everything, like no, customer support, service satisfaction is very important for this. So these are the key SaaS objectives of any SaaS business. So with this SaaS businesses, go to next. Yeah. Okay. So there are some key SaaS metrics which is any business is interested. Like no, SaaS business always want to know who are my most valuable customers, and which segment gives me the best results, and how our unit economics works. Like no, manage your business unit economics to build a healthy company. And then it also works on like no, what are my MRR movements, how many of them are in high bracket, how many of them are in low bracket. So how to manage to get that low bracket to high bracket, and which plans brings in more revenue in it. Like no, what should I sell more so that the people will use my product more, and what is the growth rate. Like no, so if you, these are the key metrics of any SaaS business. Like no, for example, if you want to run any SaaS business, these are the 6 important metrics: growth and retain the recurring revenue by targeting the right segments of the customers is the. So what happens here? I just want to pass a minute here. Like if you see all these business related problems, each one has to be supported with the data. If you don't support with the data, what will happen is you don't get the right indicators and right strategies to be executed. So in this scenario, what we'll try to do is we'll try to go to the. You're making it, yeah. Let me just reshare it. Hope you can see my screen now. Okay. So let me talk about economics of SaaS. Like no, I'm talking about this economics of SaaS because this is very important for any business. Like no, so what happens is, as we mentioned, the key SaaS goals like no, profitability, cash, growth, and market share. So the predominant of this profitability and cash depends upon 2 things. One, recurring revenues, which we call it as MRRs, and months to recover the customer acquisition cost. Like no, everyone will have to get a cost to acquire it. So what happens in there are 3 concepts here: customer acquisition cost, lifetime value. Okay, so it has to be in a balancing act. Like no, for example, it's very fragile in nature. Like no, if you work on customer acquisition costs heavily, what will happen is you will end up losing the lifetime value of the customer. Like no, you want to so you need to balance this. This is the key of this business, and then the entire balancing again boils down to MRR as well as the services. What is the services? Like what happens in the SaaS business? Unless until you are satisfied as a customer, you don't go and resubscribe it. Like no, it's a monthly subscriptions or annual subscriptions. You will resubscribe it when you are satisfied as a customer. So that's the key here. So in order to do this, what are the business problems we typically see in SaaS is a company becomes a larger and the size of a subscription base also becomes larger enough, any kind of churn, like the people are not resubscribing, will become a big problem, right? And then the small and medium business is key to the success of SaaS business, as I mentioned in the earlier. So this is an opportunity to drive revenue growth. Like these companies are the cash cows in this. Okay, so where we have to get more business out of it. Managing churn is harder if you are selling to a small business, because many of the small business will vanish in no time. So today they will show up as small and progressing business. After that, they will either acquired or they will exit from the business. So you need to keep updating your strategy here and there, so that you have that continuity in the business. So in regarding all these things, what is the key here is customer services. If you don't have a good customer service, what will happen is you don't get a recurring business. Okay, so some of the other hypotheses which we have seen is low consumption of any product is equal to churn, and lack of VA is equal to missed opportunity. Let us take an example of a product like iPhone. Like if you are only using iPhone for making and receiving calls, you don't need an iPhone, right? You need to use all the features which are there, right? You have various features in iPhone. So what happens is, if you don't consume all the features, at the end of the day you feel like when you have to refresh it, why I need it unnecessarily. Hardly I'm using it for making an so what is important here is consumption. How much of consumption you are having, so that we need to track that consumption through business intelligence outcomes. Okay, see, and then another form is the past, present, future of customer journey to analyze, describe, and predict. We need to analyze the past, we need to describe the present, and we need to predict the future, which is very key to the business. And because it's a dynamic business, unless until you don't analyze what happened in the past and you don't describe what is happening now, you are not able to predict what is going to happen future. Okay, so this is where the holistic picture of 360-degree will come to the place, right? So at one go, you are able to see what is happened in the past, what is happening now, what will happen in the future. So that's where the data science becomes very important here, where we analyze, interpret, and enable the things. And then churn prediction is the key here, that's the business goal. And then constant monitoring the consumption and the product features are very important, right? If you don't monitor the consumption and the features, so you are not in the business, right? You don't know what your customers are using, what is the feature they are using, what is the trouble they are facing when they are using the feature, so you are not in the business. Okay, so with the cost of customer acquisitions on rise, most SaaS businesses are looking to reduce their churn. Okay, they want to retain the existing customers. Okay, and data science capabilities has emerged as a key strategy in keeping the current customers and making successful and reducing the churn rate. So across the globe, that's become a mantra. That's become the UPS of this thing. The key is to integrate a single environment and relate this data comes from various sources, and then create a holistic picture. That's where you can see the 360-degree view. That will enable us to develop all our other models and all. So to just give the entire thing, to just summarize what we have discussed. So I'm trying to describe the business problem and trying to give an analytics problem out of the business problem. All business problems may not be analytics problems, right? So that analytic problem is defined now. Now we need to see that in order to analyze that problem, what kind of solutions we need to develop, and what we need to design first, what we need to develop first, and what we need to deliver it. Okay, so this is where the design part comes. Again, the strategic nature. If you see, what are the tactics to decrease SaaS churn rate and build an advocate is we need to have churn mitigation strategies. We also need to track and visualize some KPIs. Okay, so some of the KPIs which I mentioned is churn rate or MRR or upgrade, downgrades, what the customers are making, and then try to analyze it by date and then see the cohorts. All these things are what we visualize things and then try to manage the things. And then churn mitigation strategies is a kind of an action as well as analytics driven to this. For example, we need to bundle the e-offers so that the people will buy more, and we need to win back or outreach the customers who are losing out, and we need to have strategies to improve the customer services. Like customers should have an one service where they are very much satisfied. Okay, and then and we also need to have a customer health scores. We need to see what is the customer health score, whether they made a payment in the last quarters, and when they are making the payment, if they have any issues, how many technical issues they have, and all these things. At the same time, we also need to cross sell and upsell to increase the revenue and attract new customers, where we need to introduce this product to the more people from where we need more word of mouth publicity and all. Okay, we need to have this social media strategy towards it, and then increase the customer lock-in period. They might be in 1 month, we need to trap them to 6 months or 8 months, so that we'll get a more committed revenues. And then the whole things basically comes with the predictive analytics background. So the key to success is boils down to two things: one, good BI strategy, business intelligence strategy, and predictive analytics strategy. So I'm separating both because BI strategy and predictive analytics strategy looks very similar, but it has to be entirely different. Okay, BI strategy helps an operational day-to-day thing, whereas predictive analytics strategy is a long-term goal. Okay, so that's where it's a long-term satisfaction which helps us. Okay, with this, why we need to have a data science practice in the SaaS world? Driving consumption and optimizing revenue is the key thing, which I'm calling it as in consumption economics. Okay, so some of these words are proprietary to me, which I have been working on it and then trying to create it. And then expand SMB revenue base is basically maximizing the upsell, cross sell, and renewal of subscription revenues, which I call it as subscription economics, because this is the key to the business. You have more subscriptions, then it will go, and then you need to optimize your subscription strategies. Then predict and control and influence churn is what we call it as proactive analytics. The key metric here is lifetime value of a customer, and then decision making process, quality and relevance, everything comes from the 360-degree view of a customer. Okay, which we call it as a loyalty economics, or we also call it as a break fix and preventive maintenance. Okay, so let me just give you the approach what I mentioned. We should have two strategies: one, good BI, and then we should have a predictive analytics thing. So just to introduce you to the different steps in analytics is have descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive, and outcomes. Okay, so there are different 5 steps here. So the first one is predominantly an operational metrics, the descriptive, where you need to have a good BI strategy, right? So that's where you need to have a dynamic reporting, you need to have an automating and rescheduling, you need to have a KPIs which has to be presented to the business, and then that's where you have to manage the complexities. Okay, then we need to create value through a strategic analysis, what we call it as a predictive analytics strategy, where we have to work what we are working on: break fix analytics, loyalty economics, consumption economics, predicting churn, and customer lifetime value. Okay, so these are the things which we are working on. So before getting into how we solved it, I just want to know you're following it no. Okay, good. So this is our analytical ecosystem. So we follow the CRISP-DM methodology, which is a famous data mining technique. So we should have a business understanding, we should have a data understanding, then we data cleanse it, we prepare it, and then we analyze it. Okay, then what we see is we try to create a value creation through envisioning the problems before it happens, being a proactive rather than reactive. Reactive is basically, it's a kind of postmodern in analytics. We need to be proactive here, and then we want to become a kind of an odd man out from the crowd, so that we will be the pioneer in the business what we are driving, and then stop the leakages of revenue flow. So that's the value addition. So if you see our ecosystem, we use name the tool, we use everything. The data systems comes from Oracle, SAP, and everything. What we do is we pull all that to our Hadoop environment, and we basically manage our entire data analytics platform in a Hadoop environment, where we use SAS and Hue, okay, to do all this cleansing, combining, and all the stuff. And then for visualization, we use tools like Tableau and Platfora, okay. And then we use analytics tools like JMP, NIME, R, okay, SAS, and all other things. Like we use data mining, predictive modeling, and then we use cognitive computing, all the stuff to analyze the things. Like what we basically do is we analyze historical, as I was mentioning, and then we describe the present values and then try to predict the future, how it goes. And then how it helps is we'll generate in customer insights, which will segment, target, and position our product so that the product will become robust. So this is an ecosystem. So any doubts or anything, I can answer it once I'm. Let me take you through what is the 360-degree view I'm talking about. Okay. So what happened is in this view, like I have created this framework called 360-degree of customer. Like it's actually 490 degrees. Like each one is a segment. In the first segment, what we call it as know your customers. Like unless until you know your customers, you don't happen to serve them better, right? You need to have a complete understanding of customer. What is your customer into? What is his usage pattern? What are the features he are using? What is the features he is not using? Historically, what is his percentage? So that's a very key part. So we spend most of the time in analyzing and finding this monthly, weekly nature of this. This is what is called customer economics also. Okay, or what we call it as a consumption economics. Okay, then we have something called listen to the customer interactions. Like so like you understood your customer. Now you need to listen to them. Like what are the different points you listen? Like that's where, like when they have a problem, they call to your call center, or they use your web, or they use your chat box. They use any point of interaction which they have. On top of it, they also have a surveys where like they basically rate their experience. On top of it, like if they are not talking either in the customer interaction point or in the service, then they go talk in outside world, which is called social media, right? So where they go and talk about the product and that. So we need to listen what my customers are saying, like what is their good experience, what is the bad experience, what is the price of good experience for me, and what is the cost of bad experience for me, and what is the net impact of this experience. So this is where we apply most of the unstructured data analytics, like using text mining. Okay, we use social media listening, we use cognitive computing. We also mix both the data analytics with the unstructured mining. Okay, then what is important here is like health check of the customer. First, you understood your customer, then you listen to the problem, then you need to have a health check. Okay, so health check is basically predictive intelligence. Like you need to see that okay, this customer with this background had this many problems. What is the likelihood of he continuing with us or churning out from this? Okay, at the same time, like what is the probability of this guy downsizing it? He comes and proposes us to downsize. We go and say that hey, you are not using your product for last 6 months, and we see like you are wasting your dollars. Why don't you downsize it, and then this many customers are using? I mean, if you go and reach to them, you are helping customers, right? So that's where the proactiveness will come, then the reactiveness. But in the reactive world, what will happen is if the customer realizes what he will do, he will cancel this entire service. Before that, what we are trying to do is we are trying to reach him and then trying to downsize him. So that basically wins the heart of the customer, and then that's where they become our true loyalists. Okay. Then we need to prescribe value to the customers. That's what we will do. Like what kind of prescriptions we give. So if you see this entire thing, this is like you go to doctor, like you have some problem. Okay. Then you ask, you go to doctor. First thing is you have an interaction where doctor will know about you, what is your problem and all. Then he will listen to your symptoms, and then he will propose some tests, right? Like urine test, blood test, BP test, and everything. And then he will write some medicines. So this analytics solution also covers all the 4 quadrants of that. So it's a kind of an philosophical thought, like how we can interact all these things at one go. If you have all these things in one data point, which I was mentioning about my robust data analytics platform, so it becomes easy for me to understand each problem in a different silos. At the same time, I can relate it back to everything. Okay. So with this, what we try to do is we have an different solutions. We have proactive analytics solutions and we have break fix analytics solutions. Let me explain what is a proactive analytics and what is a break fix analytics. In a proactive analytics world, what we do is we have statistical analysis, we have forecasting, we do predictive modeling, we do optimization, okay, and we also have a reactive analytics, which is very important. Like I was mentioning about my BI strategy, where we work with standard reports, ad hoc reports, and then we query drill down and some kind of an alerts to the business. Apart from that, what we do is preventive maintenance, where we improve the customer care and value. Like before customer realizes his problem, okay, we try to predict what was the problem for him. Like for example, we are having an audio meeting, okay, and then there might be some kind of an audio fade outs, which we call them as a packet losses. What we do is we predict them and say that, hey, last week you had 8 meetings. Out of 8 meetings, you had 3 places where you have faded out. They are sorry about it, and we are going to fix the problem. So that's where you need to relate to the customer, like no. So they should understand what value you are bringing to the table. Okay. So with this, let me just explain about one case study of how we are analyzing through a predictive analytics model. So in any business problem, the first and foremost thing is to identify the variables. Okay. Before that, we need to prepare the data. Like the data preparation is the key. Like unless until you have a good data preparation, you can't do anything else. Okay. So that is where you need to use all your techniques of like SAS or R, the knowledge of SQL, the knowledge of Excel, all has to get used to be here. Like that's where you prepare the data, where you pull data from different sources. You basically clean it. You basically prepare them. You basically try to if any variables are missing, you try to veracitize it and then try to predict it and then try to keep everything. Then we need to understand the predictive variables. What is your dependent variable and what is your independent variable? Most of the cases you don't have your dependent variable, okay, where you use your unsupervised learning techniques. Okay, so when you have your predetermined your dependent variable, then you use supervised learning techniques. Okay. So then we build the models. Like the models are like you have various ingredients to cook. Like where you bring whatever the model you want to do it. Like so some of my models I use is like neural networks and like you can see that how accurately that models comes. Like so the accuracy is more than 90% or 95%. It all depends upon how you prepare your data, how you identify your variables. Okay, how you process them. Okay. Once you build your model, what will happen is you apply the churn characteristics of what happened in the past to the present data and then try to see the nearest neighborhoods, like who can get influenced by this their parameters and then their symptoms, like that's where we use it. And then we use it for campaigns, like again we segment, target, position them for different campaigns with the different modes. Like it has to go with a digital mode, or it has to go with a call mode, or it has to be an email campaign, or it has to go with a chat mode, or like we have to send our sales rep to go and talk to that particular account. So that's what we use. So this is the problem, and the data sources are many, and then these are the analytical tools which we use, and these are some techniques which we are using it. Okay. So now let me just give you about consumption economics. Like what consumption economics basically talks about it. Like it tells you like how many meetings you had and how many average participants you had and what are the meetings with more participants, what is the duration. Like it's basically health check of your customer. Like this gives you the tenure, how many hosts you have, how many meetings they are having, what is an increase in an audio usage or video usage, are people using, like how many no shows are there. Like you set up a meeting and people don't join that. Okay, so that's again in kind of an irritation. Like we need to understand why it is happening. If there are more no shows because my product is so complex so that people are not able to join. Okay, I need to understand that. Okay, if there are more no shows, what will happen is my customer will go to my competitor, right? So I need to knock his door before he opens his door, right? So then we have a loyalty economics, which is very interesting. So there is a difference between customer satisfaction and loyalty. Customer satisfaction is an short-term measurement. Okay, loyalty is a long-term happiness. Okay, so it's like if you are driving a car, like how many people you are visualizing from your rear window versus the front window. Like rear window views gives us what happened in the past. Your satisfaction service tells us, but your front window will tell where you have to go and how many people are in front of you. Okay, how you need to manage things. Okay, so we use advanced analytics techniques here, like reward and penalty analysis is one technique which I developed and then been used here to understand which parameters and what level it is impacting the NPS score. Okay, and coming back to break-fix analytics, like this is where we use in big data because it has a huge volume, it has a huge variety, it has a huge velocity, and it has a veracity of the data. Like we have a lot of variables which is not available to us. Then we need to build them. Okay, so this is a complete big data challenge for us. Okay, so for example, like you have an audio conference, and then there is an audio fade out, and then that's continuously happening. Customer recalls it and switches to another vendor. Like that might be not the problem of our product. That might be our the partner's problem. Like we need to tell to our partner saying that hey, your bridges are not working, guys. Like why don't you work it out and then get into a good bridge? So that's where we use this big data thing. Like for example, we try to analyze from which location the problem happened, what is the endpoint device he is using, okay, and then which event we have, okay, and what is the error he is getting, and then where we try to see like what are the setup issues we are having, okay, how many people are trying to find out, okay. So these are the things what I have, and then yeah, that's it. I think I still have time.